The dream was really always just a passion for people. People are really our heart. And so how do we do something on the people side? I did have a background with Starbucks, so I'd seen that community that you can build around coffee. So I love just the team building side and the leadership side. I never loved anywhere I was. So I was like, man, is there a place we could be that would be healthier than what I've experienced?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that even possible? Like, can that exist? So I had that churning in the background. I've got this food truck idea, doing it with coffee churning in the background. And it was basically just kind of the discomfort of where I was in my life drove me to make a step to say, you know what, it's going to be now or never. I think what I did was I hedged against a regret. At the end of the day, I didn't want to look back and say, man, you should have just tried that idea. And so that was kind of what we did with the idea of, can we do something healthy? Can we make this healthy culture? And can we try this crazy coffee idea? And can we put those two together?
Well, welcome back, Armchair Authentic friends and family, to another episode of the podcast with Rhett and Justin. It truly is our desire to steward stories in a way that serve you. And today, my friends, you are in for a ride. We are beginning a conversation with the CEO and co-founder of Yellowhammer Coffee, located in Mobile, Alabama. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Yellowhammer Coffee, I'm telling you, over this episode and the next, you're going to become really familiar with the craze and obsession that's taking over the Southeast. So buckle up and get ready for a conversation that begins today. I mean, we talk leadership. So if you're a leader today or you want to grow in your leadership skills, this episode is for you. That's right. We talk about things like how to create a healthy culture where people actually love their job, as well as the grit and the grind behind the scenes of what it takes to not only run a successful business, but to scale a successful business. We talk about all of this and so much more in today's conversation with Jeff, and there will be a to be continued. We will have a part 2 with Jeff following this conversation next week. Now, before we dive into this episode, I want to ask you something that I've never asked you before, and that is, if you're enjoying the episodes, would you do us a favor? Would you pull out your phone, copy the link from this episode or your favorite, and send it to a friend? Man, that would mean so much to us. All right, jumping into the conversation with Jeff, CEO and co-founder of Yellowhammer Coffee. You guys ready? Here we go. Justin, I'm really excited. I've got a good friend of ours in the studio today, Jeff Roberts. Listen, if you don't know who Jeff is, I mean, we're talking about going from a coffee truck, like food truck style coffee truck in 2016 to now in 2024, over 7 brick and mortar locations. Yellowhammer Coffee CEO and one of the founders, Jeff Roberts. It's so good to have you in the studio today. Welcome to Armchair Authentic, bro.
Man, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's great to be in person. I love just sitting at the table, so very honored to be on this podcast.
Well, we know how much it means to you that you took the time to fly up today for this episode.
That was it. It's faster than
hardcore.
Driving.
Guys, I just want you to know, like, Jeff and I go back to my time when I was in Mobile, all my Mobile peeps. I love you so much. I do miss you. In fact, Jeff and I were talking before this conversation about, I was just saying, man, I miss so many people from Mobile. It was a hard time, but then such a great time. Yep. And I don't know how, but somehow I have the ability to suppress the hard and remember the good. And that's another podcast for another day.
Yes, it is.
But I do want to say though, man, I miss you guys dearly. You've been dear friends and you had a huge role in our life. And I've said this earlier, for those who don't know, One Life Church, who I was graced to be able to plant along with my wife and my son in Nampa, Idaho, would have never happened had it not been for financial investments from friends like Jeff and Mo. And I am so thankful. The people of Idaho are thankful because the church is there because of your generosity. That's amazing. I just say that on a personal end on this. So thank you for that.
Well, what's cool about this too, Rhett, is even when you were in the Mobile area, you would tell me, me and Rhett are dreamers. So we're always talking about, ooh, what about this? What if we did this? And you began to talk about Jeff, your friend at that time. I didn't know his name, but he's starting a coffee business. And I'm very much, as our audience knows, I'm very much into coffee. So that always stuck in my head. So I feel like, Jeff, I have followed your journey these years to see. It's like you started with this, portable truck that goes, and now to have 7 stores. I mean, you're taking over the place.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, you're really taking over Mobile for sure.
Yeah.
And I know you've got plans, I'm sure, because I know you well enough to know you got plans to take over the state of Alabama.
We're looking at spots in Birmingham.
I know.
Driving around, I'm like, all right, we can put one there, we can put one there.
But have I not texted you along the way going, dude, like, here's a great spot. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, but with this,
you have our blessing.
So for all the guests listening from all the cities around the country and the world, I just want to bring you in. There are so many dynamics and facets to this relationship and the history, and so many stories we could dive into. And so I'm not quite sure where this is going to go today, but my hope is that as you're listening, you're hearing somebody who is brave enough to do something and be willing to fail at something. And maybe even honest enough to say, we failed at a lot, but along the way, you've figured some things out. You've taken a passion, which is coffee. And I remember back in small groups, man, every small group we ever had at the church that we served on together, I'm bringing the coffee, man. You bring your own espresso machine.
I remember hearing about this.
I mean, I don't know how portable it was. It was like, you put it on the table. It's like, God bless, this is not portable, Jeff. He's like pouring shots, and he's talking about all, from Italy to Paris to all the different, facets of coffee. So if you're a coffee connoisseur, you're going to love this conversation.
That's when you're dealing with the right person.
I mean,
because they bring in the hardcore stuff.
Gotcha.
It's like, that is not portable, my friend. That was meant to stay. You brought this everywhere you went because you love coffee.
But if the small group was only going to last from like 7 to 8:30, bro, it went till midnight when Jeff showed up.
We were wired. None of us slept that night. We were up, rolling around in bed thinking, why did we drink that much espresso, man? That was not smart.
I don't even remember even tasting espresso until I met Jeff. He's like, man, that's crap coffee. You need the real stuff, man. I'm telling you, man, once you get into it's like a great wine, man. Just take some time to get used to it. And I think the first one I tasted, I was like, this is nasty. But now I'm kind of like, no, I'm into it now, baby. Let's go.
Well, people need to know that about espresso who may just go ahead and rule it out. If you get someone who knows what they're doing, if you get a good, I'm not even talking about espresso kind of dumped in the cream that turns into a latte. That's all great too. But pure espresso by someone who does it right, just like you would have in an Italian or a French community. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's got the best taste, the best notes that you taste when you're actually drinking it. And people might not know that, but you have flavor to this if someone knows what they're doing. And obviously, you're a man who knows what you're doing.
We try.
Oh, he does. And so I don't even know the questions to ask a coffee connoisseur, but I can tell. I told him earlier, I said, I know a good cup versus a crappy cup. I can at least tell you that.
It's all that matters.
Yeah, for
At
sure.
the end of the day, that's all that matters.
And as much as I like Starbucks, I will never order espresso from Starbucks ever because I've had the real deal. And I'm like, not happening,
We've opened our episodes with some, even we joked, one of our titles was a something and a crappy cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Today, we like to just say, this is being brought to you by Yellowhammer Coffee.
Yellowhammer Nation,
the coffee being partaken at this table right now. And we are enjoying it. You even brought your own barista with you to make the coffee. So
hey, that's not a joke. Justin is actually being real. Like, his barista is also his pilot that flew him here today. So if that says anything about who you are,
Richard is a man of many talents.
I'd like to call him King Richard. Yeah, who literally was the barista getting this ready for us today and flew you in. That was pretty awesome.
So we have a large listening audience in the Pacific Northwest, and I kind of feel sorry for them. I mean, I think some of the best coffee I've ever had was in my time in the Northwest.
Oh yeah, amazing coffee.
And I'm not brown nosing, I'm not kissing your butt, but this coffee is some of the best coffee I've had.
It's good. It's
really
well
good. It really is, man.
Our roaster is legit.
And I think it's prophetic. I'm drinking it from a Starbucks cup that I got from Idaho. You know how Starbucks has all these different cups.
That's awesome.
So I think it's prophetic to know that one day, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to get Yellowhammer up in Idaho, and we're going to show those Pacific Northwesterners a thing or two about some real coffee.
We'll make it happen.
Well, I don't know Jeff like you do, Rhett, but just even the past hour we've spent together, if there's anybody who could go take something somewhere, you've got the personality and drive.
Oh, so much.
And it sounds like you and your wife, the way that y'all work as a team, y'all could probably do anything that you wanted to.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress.
That's a good lead in. So, Jeff and Mo, You know, you guys, obviously you had a passion. I know Mo's got a passion for it too. And you guys stepped out of a comfort zone and you started something that did not exist, that now exists. And that people, honestly, if you're not in the Mobile area, I'm telling you, when you drive through Mobile, you can just sense the craze for Yellowhammer. It's everywhere, social media everywhere. I mean, it's on every street corner. Everybody's talking about Yellowhammer Coffee. And so we know that you're there and you've got all these dreams and aspirations to take it further. But this thing did not exist before 2016.
Correct.
So if we go back to that time that you're thinking about, you and Bo and those conversations, we served on a church together and then you guys took a step. Can you go back to that and talk to me about the crazy, like the idea of going, what in the world, what are we doing? We're stepping out into no man's land. I've got this dream. I don't know if it's going to work, but by God, we're going to try.
Right.
So take us back to that.
So Rhett, the dream was really always just a passion for people. Like it's really not a passion for coffee. People are really our heart. And so how do we do something on the people side? Because we could have done anything. We could have done a different business, different retail business, an online business. We looked at a lot of different models. And so I did have a background with Starbucks. So I'd seen that community that you can build around coffee, right? Just people love to meet there for coffee, sitting at a table, connecting. So I really enjoyed that. And then, and I love people. So I love just the team building side and the leadership side and all of that. So I was like, I think, and then the biggest question was, I would see all these food trucks come in. You guys probably have them up here in Birmingham.
Yeah.
They'll hit the scene. And then a year or two later, you don't see them anymore. Right.
True.
So I had this burning desire of like, why don't people just try something different? It doesn't have to be the hot dog food truck or the crepe food truck or whatever, you know, the chicken wings or whatever. So I'm like, why doesn't someone take Starbucks and just put it inside of a food truck? Like, I think that would work. And so I didn't want to do it. I was like, someone else can get this idea and run with it, hopefully, right? So a couple years into that, no one had still done it. And then we're dealing with just kind of in a work culture, and I've been in corporate world a pretty good bit. I've got a background there. We were talking off air, Justin and I. So I've got this, you know, and I never loved anywhere I was. So I was like, man, is there a place we could be that would be healthier than what I've experienced?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that even possible? Like, can that exist? So I had that churning in the background. I've got this food truck idea, doing it with coffee churning in the background. And it was basically just kind of the discomfort of where I was in my life drove me to make a step to say, you know what, it's going to be now or never. And I like to tell people, I think what I did was I hedged against a regret, because I would rather try it and fail and then live peacefully knowing I gave it all I had than always wondering my whole life, right? And so that was kind of what we did. And so we just hedged against it with the idea of, can we do something healthy? Can we make this healthy culture? And can we try this crazy coffee idea? And can we put those two together?
Let me say something really quick. If you're listening and you've heard any type of leadership talks, you've heard any CEO, any founder, whenever they start off talking about, well, we're really not a coffee company, we're a people company, I think the first thing people do is they kind of go, okay, yeah, that's just something that you spin, that you say to try to get business. And I just want to speak to this. That's absolutely not your heart. Like, you love people. Like, your heart is not to spin that in a way to get people, because I can speak to the fact that I knew you guys well before you even started this thing. And you've always been just an attractional couple, if you will, to where you're like a magnet. You're a magnet to young adults. I mean, you guys, for crying out loud, you were youth pastors. And God had just given you have this grace gift. And I don't think it's something that you've ever tried to be. It's just, it's a natural response to how God has created you. It's who you are. And you just have this, you really genuinely care. And people feel that. And there's this sense of, wow, they love me for who I am, not for what I do for them. And they make me feel special. So this is, you know, and I say Mo, Monique is her full name, but you know, those who know her, it's Mo. So Jeff and Mo are the type of people who have always lived this type of life and have represented this. Not saying you're perfect, because nobody is. Gosh, we can talk about mistakes. I mean,
that
for real. But I just want people to understand that you really do genuinely mean that, because that comes out of the overflow of who you guys are. You've always been that way. When I was in Mobile, our family felt that way. Our son felt that way. And I've never heard anything, honestly, from people that are worthy of respect have anything negative to say about about you guys. And so I just want to just level the playing field on that for a minute.
That's good.
No, that's a good point. Like, we didn't read this off of some random, website somewhere like, oh yeah, we should be a people company.
Exactly.
Not like that literally came out of just who we are. And so we weren't trying to get the marketing hype, it's like, this is literally how we want to build it.
And that's what's made this so special to me from the stories that I've heard and from the visuals that I see on social and even knowing some of your employees who, used to be at the church that we were part of, who were serving and all that to say, the one thing you did mention is healthy culture, which you were talking, I'd like to dive into that for a minute because obviously I don't want to assume anything, but most people, their experience from whatever that is previous, whether it's church life, whether it's business life, there had to be some experiences there that were like, if I'm ever doing something in charge of something, I'm going to lead this in a way that's different. Was that a drive for you when it comes to this healthy culture thing?
It was out of just necessity. Like I knew where we were. We had to get out. Yeah. I knew we had to do something different. And really what I think part of a healthy culture is, can you engage in healthy conflict? And if you can, I think that is a driver for healthy culture. Because, I think culture trumps everything. I look at a lot of businesses, their financials are awesome. Everything's amazing. They're profitable. Everything's good. But then they're losing people at 150% turnover rate, right? And I'm like, well, that's not good, right? Right. And so, like you can drive all the numbers you want to, but if you're losing people faster than you can retain them, that's not healthy, And so it really came out of that. That was the idea, right? So we go through courses. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Pat Lencioni. Oh, yeah. He's an author. So we actually read through like 5 dysfunctions of a team. We read through The Advantage. And we practice this stuff, and it's not easy. Like, I don't like sitting down with my executive team and going through that, and they tell me everything is wrong with me. Like, it's not comfortable, but it's necessary, right? If you're going to be healthy, that is like part of the drill, right? And so we do that in all our stores. Like, our shifts will meet with our managers. We run them through this content, and this is something no one does in food. Nobody. Restaurants do not do this. Like, so it is the one driver for us. We kind of think it's our secret formula. Like, so we're coming up here really resourcing leaders, really teaching them how to engage. Because most people, especially young people, very uncomfortable saying, hey, let's talk about that. I didn't like the way that sounded. I didn't like the way that interaction went. I felt like you could have done that better. And so I have to model that. You know what I mean? So literally 2-3 weeks ago, my regional manager, who is awesome, he's been with us for 6 or 7 years. His name's Sam. Sam sat me down and said, hey, man, he was running a meeting that I was in, and I'm just dealing with a bunch of texts. I'm dealing with a bunch of nightmares and fires and headaches. So I'm in his meeting, and I'm just kind of texting, trying to stay, but I'm still trying to stay engaged. Yeah. He goes, hey, man, you looked really distracted. First off, he checked on me. Hey, you okay? I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. We got a bunch going on. He goes, okay. He goes, man, you looked really distracted in that meeting. And he goes, I really don't think you should be there if you're distracted. He's telling his boss that. Yeah. And you know what I said? I was like, you're 100% right, man. Like, I either need to go to my office and work, or I need to put my phone down and engage. And you cannot do that in most corporations, right? You go to the CEO and tell them that they're messing up. See ya. You're fired, dude. It's
dangerous ground.
Get out of here. Like, next.
So where was that drive from? What happened in your life to go, you know what? I've got to be different. I want to be different. I want to lead that way. Because nobody naturally goes to that type of leadership, because that's, I mean, they might say it on paper, but then the moment that happens, you're like, screw that. Totally. There's not enough trust here. I know you said that you want me to be honest with you, but you don't. Right?
Correct. And if I would have responded that way, he would have never said another word to me again, and then I could have killed the culture that day.
Absolutely.
Right. So it comes from a couple things. One is just a bunch of bad experiences with things like that, because you say that to some leaders, you're going to get hosed, right? So I've been in those situations. Those are very uncomfortable and they're not great, but you're not running an honest culture at that point. It's literally kind of a dictator model. Yeah. What I say goes, what I say is gospel. Yeah. And then part of that comes out of some humility. Like, man, humility is everything, right? When you are humble, you will listen. You will take the time to listen to what people are saying. You will not get offended. And you're like, all right, what is the best for this team, right? So it's just a level of humility that we try to teach all of our managers, all of our leaders, all of our shift leads, all of our baristas. Like, man, humility is great. And there's not a lot of humility. And so, I just think it's a mix of mixing those two together, right? Take some bad experiences, have some humility, and be willing to learn, be willing to be wrong. And there you go.
Because the two parties listening to this, I mean, if you're someone who, you have a leader and maybe, you understand the risk it is to, depending the culture of the listener right now that you come from, that may be a hard thing to do. And you're going to have to take that risk to have that conversation, or you might be smart enough to realize this sounds great in theory, but my culture over here is not built like this. Correct. But what I would say to the flip side, to the leader, I love how you say humility is everything. That's actually a line we say a lot. I mean, humility wins. Yep. It always will win. You might not feel like you're winning in the moment as the leader, but humility will always lift you up. God will lift you up through it. And so what I would encourage the leaders even listening to this is do an internal audit, because this is a real thing. You may be listening to this and you may be buying into your own hype, and you've said the right things because you've listened to the latest podcast that says a good leader should do this. And now you're trying to go apply it. But now that you said it and one of your staff actually take you up on it, now you're in this valley of decision. How are you going to treat the employee from that point? And if you want a thriving culture, it's going to be about you humbling yourself, because as the boss, as the leader, the manager, whatever your role might be, you are going to maybe feel an irritant when they actually come and say something. The humility factor that you as a leader might be facing in that moment, you might make the right decision as you're approaching your employee and say, okay, thank you for bringing that to me. But that's where it really starts, because now you've got the voices in your ear or outside people who may be coming to you and feeding you more words of, hey, are you going to let him say that? Or you're not being that way. And you've got to have the strength to say, no. Culture is everything. And if I'm doing that, we have to put that to a stop.
Wow. Well, the fact that you're displaying that, I mean, it's not just words. It is something you're living, because I know and I've seen and I've heard how many, you've got people lined up by the droves who want to work for your organization because you're leading this way. You're leading with transparency. You're leading with empowerment to your employees at the, I don't mean to say lowest level as if there's not value there, but I mean, but at the point, at the contact with the customer, right? They are empowered to make decisions and to make it in the best interest of the customer experience. And I know you're doing that. So we know you're leading that way, but all this didn't happen overnight, you know, and none of it happened overnight. So I know you've had to have clear vision, and you've implemented that vision over time. So if we kind of, you know, I know we'll get to some of this, but if we can just peel the layer back a little bit and go back to that coffee truck and that experience. So you took a step, you fast forward and you got your truck, you're out there, and then what's going through your mind? What's your first event? And then what are you thinking? Dear God, what did I get myself into? Or, hey, we got something here. We're going, you know, like, what was that experience like?
That event was at Mary G. Montgomery High School, which I know you're familiar with, Mobile. First event, it was a 4th of July thing. I think it was June or July the 3rd. And so we finished that event, and I was like, this is not going to work. We're not going to make it. We've worked too hard for not a lot of money. And coffee's tough to do. Like, it's a smaller item. Like, if you're selling chicken sandwiches for $15 or whatever, you can make those numbers work, right? We're selling coffee for $4 and working hard on every customized order. And it just wasn't a lot. I was like, and we got gray water dumping all over the ground because we didn't know how to manage all that. So all the tanks underneath the trailer hold the gray water, and you have to, you know, dispose of the gray water in a proper sanitation and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So it's dumping out on the parking lot.
While you're serving customers.
Customers are standing in steamed milk and water and coffee grounds to get a cup of coffee. And I literally was like, and I've got, you know, remember Jeremy? Jeremy's in there. Jeremy had worked at Starbucks. He was helping me. You know, I got some other guys in there. Josh, I think, was in there. Morgan, I think, was in there. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. Like, who thought of this? You know, like, I got to blame somebody. You know, like, Mo, why did you tell me that? No, I'm just kidding. But I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, there's no way this is going to work. And so, but you know, you just got to get up the next day and say, all right, let's get it better. Let's streamline it. Let's figure out how to not dump gray water on the ground. Let's figure our water management out better, because we just didn't have a clue. So we're running the sinks nonstop. You know, we're just doing all that. So we just had to figure out our water management better. We had to figure our processes out better, all of that stuff. I mean, we knew nothing.
So the process, you had no clue. You knew how to make good coffee, and you got the coffee, and you know how to take care of people.
Correct.
But so the vision, it was there, and the people were there, and people were still buying. And I know they were lined up in droves regardless of the process, because the way you're making them feel.
Correct.
But there was a lot of process
The
that
process
was sucked.
a disaster, and it was awful. Everything was horrible. The generator was too loud. I bought the wrong one. It's just it was awful, right? And so we had to slowly work to get better processes, better speed, better efficiency, quieter generators. So over time, over that year or two, we really worked hard to dial that in, and then we started finding good regions that we could set up in normally. So we would just drop a schedule once a week and say, we're going to be at this school on this morning. We're going to be over here at this church on this afternoon. We're going to be in this empty parking lot here. And people just started showing up.
You were doing that via social media, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you were just all social media. You weren't paying for any other type of billboard or advertising or commercials. It was straight up social.
People wanted to know where the Yellowhammer truck was going to be.
I mean, you created a little like Yellowhammer
cult following.
So people started calling themselves truck chasers.
Yeah, that's it.
So they're like
hashtag truck chasers.
So we made a shirt that said truck chaser. You know, it had a little coffee spilling on the shirt. You know, and so
cool.
It was wild though. Like I'd never seen anything like it. But also, it was a new idea. No one had ever. They were like, you mean Starbucks type business can come to my parking lot? This is insane. And so Mobile really embraced it. We just kind of got lucky with the timing. There wasn't a lot of coffee at the time, so it was just this new thing that started. And it just, from there, we just kept cleaning things up.
Talk to me about the process stuff. How did you involve people, your employees at that point in this? Go, guys, I need help. Obviously don't know what I'm doing, don't know how to take care of people, know how to make great coffee. But was it just you and Mo at home trying to figure this out? Or did you invite along at that beginning stage the employees that were in there? Totally. Were you asking the customers, hey, I mean, like what was, how did you figure out those processes?
It was really kind of our internal team of just, hey, what if we tried this? What if we did this? What if we moved the syrups from here to here? Because that would be faster step, right? Like what if we moved the grinder from here to over here? And so it was just, we were just figuring out the flow. If you've ever seen the movie The Founder.
Oh yeah.
So when he gets on the tennis court and he tapes it out and he just times them and he's like, nope, 15
It's the story of the McDonald's
It literally
founders.
is. So it's the story of McDonald's. And so he would get on a ladder and watch these people move with everything taped down. So that's kind of how we did it. We would see that and we could save 2 seconds if we did this. We could save 3 if we did it like this. We could say, I mean, it was, here's a good example. So you would come up and you're like, hey, Rhett, how's it going, man? Good to see you again. Yeah, I'd like a vanilla latte. Awesome. We would put it in the POS system.
Okay.
Then we would grab the cup and then we would write Rhett on the cup. Then we'd write, VL extra hot or whatever. Everything was handwritten. Then we would push it down the line. They'd put the syrup in it. They'd pull the shots. They'd steam the milk, all that, right? So that is a horrible system because you're working twice. I'm inputting in the POS and then I'm handwriting everything. So then we got smart and I started testing printers and I was like, there has to be a way to do this.
That's good.
So then we figured out a system that was kind of a little rigged together that as we put it in the POS, it would print it on a thermal printer. So then we're only inputting the data once, right? And you're we're getting faster, right? And so it was just stuff like that. We would just figure out little ways to just save time, but still keep the connection there, but make the drinks faster so that we could do more volume. And so that's been the game for 8 years.
How long did it take you to become profitable off that truck and the initial investment? How many, because you're doing a high school and you're thinking, surely, okay, I'm looking at this and that revenue is like, how many high schools do I have to do to get to the place where I can actually build this thing?
It may have been, I can't really, maybe a year or two.
Okay.
But then we went and we took another loan, bought a second trailer, and then started doing that. And then we reinvested, went and did the first brick and mortar. And so we've always just kind of so break even's a kind of a loose term.
Okay.
Because we just kept pouring. Even today, all we do is pour back and we get ready for the next location. And so it wasn't like we broke even or like, all right, we're good now. But probably a year or two to kind of get that first loan paid down.
Yeah.
And we did it real stupid. So we didn't have any money and we quit our jobs on the same day like idiots. And we had 3 kids at the time.
Well, I wasn't going to say any of that, but you're willing to go there.
It's the dumbest. I would not recommend this for anybody.
Yeah.
So we quit our jobs. Like honestly, we should have kept some income, but it also when your back's against the wall, you're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So quit our jobs. We borrowed from an insurance policy about $35,000. And then we pulled an interest-free credit card for about $20,000. Dave Ramsey would love me. I'm just kidding.
That's sarcasm, by the way.
If you're a Dave Ramsey, if you're a Ramsey listener, this is not baby step 2. I can tell you that right now.
This is how not to do it, but God can still work through it.
Dave would absolutely demolish me.
Yes.
But we had no other option, right? And so we paid that credit card off, didn't pay a dime of interest. I've never paid a dime of interest. Dave would be proud of that. Never paid interest. We paid that policy back, got all that going. And then we just started cash flow positive, and then we just kept reinvesting. So to this day, I still take a very, very, very small paycheck. And I tell my whole team that. I'm like, guys, like, I know we have a lot of competition. I'm kind of fast forwarding.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah.
I know we have a lot of competition coming in, but no one can work more than me and cheaper than me. So I'm like, all these guys got to get paid. Their VPs got to get paid. The marketing directors or blah, 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 all up the chain. I'm like, I can live on very little.
Hey friends, it's Rhett with Armchair Authentic. Listen, I know we're in a conversation with Jeff regarding all things Yellowhammer Coffee, but we have to take a moment and encourage you. If you're in the area, my goodness, you've got to drive through right now. You've got to pick up an order of one of their seasonal favorites, like the pumpkin pie white mocha. Come on, their s'mores mocha, or one of their fall lattes like banana cream pie, French toast, maple, pecan pancake. Come on, are you feeling it right now? Pumpkin spice, or the Potter's favorite, butterbeer. I mean, listen, they got something for everyone. Now, if you're listening today and you're thinking, my goodness, I'm not in the area, how can I get my hands on some of this coffee? Are you ready for this? Even if you're not local, you can still enjoy their award-winning coffee. All you got to do is just go to yellowhammercoffee.com. That's yellowhammercoffee.com. That's yellowhammercoffee.com in case you missed it. And all you have to do is click on their subscriptions and get their roast. Listen, you can have it delivered weekly, bi-weekly, or even get your fix monthly. And more than that, if you just want to see the craze and culture firsthand, man, can I encourage you, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Yellowham Coffee. That's at Yellowham, YELHAMCOFFEE, at Yellowham Coffee. Stay connected with everything they've got brewing. So here's my last question. What are you waiting for? Fly high and hammer down with Yellowhammer Coffee. And remember this. If you're local and you're going through the drive-thru, tell them your friends, Red and Justin from Armchair Authentic, sent you. All right, now back to the conversation.
No one can work more than me and cheaper than me. So I'm like, all these guys got to get paid. Their VPs got to get paid. The marketing directors or blah, 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 all up the chain. I'm like, I can live on very little.
I don't know. There's something driving on the inside of you. What has been the drive to get you from one trailer to two trailers to the brick and mortar now to 7? Because that just doesn't happen by accident. Sure. Obviously, you've got a clear vision, right? But how do you implement that vision in a way that grows beyond that into what it is today?
Yeah. A lot of it, I'm a driver, like I'm a builder. And so it's knowing your DNA. And most of those guys, most builders, I would not want to work for, right? So I look at guys like Elon Musk, would not respect what he does, would never want to. You think we've had bad experiences? Go work for that guy, Like I look at guys like Steve Jobs, one of my heroes, would never want to work for Steve Jobs, right? And so it's like, but I've got that drive. I know I've got that Steve Jobs in me. And so the other side, I always pull from opposites. The other side is like, man, don't treat people like this, because I could do it. I mean, I've got that DNA. I've got that A-type personality. I could hammer some experiences that we've had. Yeah, I could easily turn into that.
Well,
right?
can I just say that? I know it's interesting that you say that, because there was things when we were on staff together that we've talked about. You're like, hey, if I'm ever in the position to lead, I want to do this in a healthier place. And I think after you had been leading for a while, we would text each other and go, bro, I have tendencies to do the same thing, and I have to fight it.
It's literally, and it's one of my biggest fears is becoming that type of leader. And so I have to hedge against that. And that's why I want the honest conversations. That's why my regional manager, and I'm fully transparent with my team, right? Especially the executive team. So Sam knows that's my fear. That's why he's not scared to say, hey man, like, don't look distracted in a meeting I'm running. And I'm like, bro, you're right. But he's not scared of that, because he knows the fear side of me is like, I can't turn into this like dictator type, driving it down from the top, And so yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that too, because, you might have a leader who their insecurity is why you get the toxicity if you even come and challenge them. Yeah. But the way that you wrap that back up, your experience was quite the opposite. Yeah. You may have been on the receiving end of that, but it made you say, Lord, if I ever do this, I will not do that. I'm not. And so even though you're tempted because you're that A personality, D personality, let's get it done. You have that tool in your belt to remind you,
Yep.
I need to actually listen and take constructive criticism from somebody.
You just hammered, I think, what the root of it all is.
Yeah.
It's genuinely insecurity. I'm telling you, like that is the moment. Like that's the key right there. Because even like you look at, I know I keep referencing Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was driven by that massive insecurity, right? Mm-hmm. And if you've ever read his biography by I think Isaacson or Walter Isaacson. I read the whole book cover to cover. A lot of insecurities, and that drove a lot of his leadership style. It's like, I'm never going to add up. I'm never going to be enough. I've got to drive harder. I've got to drive harder. So then he would drive his team like that, right? I mean, he would drive these guys insane amounts of work, you know. And so, yeah, you hit it, nail on the head. It's insecurity is the really the root of what I've seen in like really those dictator type leaders.
Oh, absolutely. And because of what you've been through, you're looking at it also, even without the insecurity, you're looking at it from the standpoint of, because I've experienced that, I want people to know what it's like not to.
Yes.
And I even think about where I've come from. I've been with a Church of the Highlands, since literally its start in 2001. And something that our pastor had told us is when he was trying to launch Highlands, like there was nothing out there really to even get things started.
There was nothing to model from.
And of course, ARC came from that, but his big deal that, you know, he's always told, you know, us, that he told the Lord, it was like, if you help me get this started, I will make it my dedication to try to help, you know, kind of the little guy, if you will.
Sure.
But had he not faced those setbacks, he might not have been saying that. Correct. In the same way with you. And I lead in a major way because of some of the experiences I had growing up. As we've talked on some of these episodes in the podcast where we had our own setbacks, it's cool how you learn from the stuff that you've been through.
Sure.
And it can be redeemed and restored, and you become a better leader. So what I hear from you is you're actually the leader you are because of some of the stuff you've come through. But there's an army of people, which I know we'll talk about in a little while, that work for you that are getting to experience what it is to have a life-giving, empowering boss.
So what kind of boundaries do you create, or what kind of accountability do you create to keep you in that safe place of not leading out of that insecurity and driving down from the top? I know you mentioned that reference from empowering your employees. Sure. But like, is there anything deeper or rooted? I know you're a man of faith. I know that, you know, but where do you seek refuge, and how do you stay healthy, I guess is my question, in leading that way. Yeah,
faith is a big part of it. Very honest relationships are another part. If my wife tells me, hey, like you're getting a little crazy here, you know, I'm like, I heed to that, right? Like I listen to that. My team members, right? And I think some of it's just vulnerability, right? So I lay it's all the Lencioni stuff. Like I have no secrets with my team. Like they know my weaknesses. They know where I struggle, but they know my strengths. Like if you got to get something done, watch this. Give me 10 minutes, right? And and that's something I've learned from a leader. We were, you know, associated with super hard worker, man, driver, like could get it done. So just because you're under someone that you don't want to lead like does not mean that you cannot learn from them.
That's
right?
so good.
Both good and bad, right? And so I've learned a lot because that he was a worker. I mean, he was a worker.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And could get it done. So I've learned how to exexecute like him. I just didn't want to lead a culture like that. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. People look at me and probably say, well, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'd rather, like, I'm sure Sam has differences of how he would lead, and that's healthy, you know, like I'm not trying to print mini me's.
Yeah.
Like I really try to embrace a team. This is getting back to your question. I try to embrace a team that has different strengths, right? Like I'm not looking for mini Jeffs, right? Because then that'd be a disaster. I want people with different strengths in different areas, and we're all going to disagree on some level. But man, you form that team; it's a well-balanced team, and you can get a lot done.
So that's a great thought. How in the world do you accomplish that? Because I can only imagine in the beginning, somebody is like, I don't know, this would be me. Like, oh, you want to work with us? Oh, wow, that's cool. You know, sure, go ahead and get started. You know, like not even, you know, but how in the world do you get to that place to be able to make that kind of decision? Because, you know, honest truth is that most of us, we want to hire people. We want people on our team that are like us, that act like us, that respond like us, that think like us.
Right.
While that might sound good on paper, you don't need a whole team of that because,
totally, because it's all the same person.
So what was that like in learning that process?
Man, it's a process over 8 years. I mean, we'd hire anybody on the spot back in the day, right?
Yeah.
It was just get on the team, man. You think you want to make coffee? Get in here, get in this trailer, man. I'll show you right now how to pull a shot. You know, so it was a lot of that. the more we've grown, we've probably got 95 people maybe in the company. So the more we've grown, the more we can fine tune kind of the teams, how they work, some strengths. So I look for people all the time. Like I met with someone as one of my managers is, his name's Hudson, super smart guy, like one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet. His brain is so techie. Like he could be a chief technology officer anywhere. Like, I mean, the guy is smart. So I'm in the background, I'm sitting here churning saying, how can we get him in a CTO role inside this company, right? So I've been throwing him things, right? We just recently switched our point of sale system. First time we've ever done it in the history of the company. Absolute disaster, but there was kind of only one way to do it. It was just a train wreck. He led many parts of that because he understood the tech, he understood the wiring, he wired the stores, he understood the like IPs and all the stuff to make all the devices talk. So I just kind of threw that to him, and I'm like, man, run with this. We had this within our company, like here, like take this over, you know? And so, and I think he appreciates that. And he knows I'm dreaming about, okay, where's this next thing? I've got another guy, he's a manager. His name's Will. He's in law school right now. Will literally wants to graduate law school and be Yellowhammer's lawyer. We're not big enough to have a lawyer yet, right? And so, I mean, we have lawyers on retainer, but we're not big enough to have like an in-house full-time, right? And he knows that. And so, but I'm dreaming of how big do we have to be to have this guy full-time lawyer and also doing some other things, you know? I think about like one of our assistant managers. I met with him the other day and said, hey man, I heard that you love trading stocks. I heard you're really good in numbers. I'm like, bro, you ever thought about like business financial side, right? Like kind of the I guess it'd be like a CFO, like a chief financial officer, right? I'm like, dude, you're good with numbers, man. I need people in the numbers every single day, looking at the stats, looking at the sales, looking at the, profitability, looking at payroll, you know? And so I just try to dream with my team. When I see strengths, I try to say, hey man, I think you'd be better than me. Like, how do we get you in? How do we create this environment as we grow to where you can see a path too? Cause I'm like, you probably won't make coffee forever. Like, I mean, my regional manager used to be a barista, right? He doesn't make a lot of coffee now. I mean, he'll fill in every now and then just to keep the skills up, but he doesn't make a lot of coffee. He oversees, he has an insane amount of conversations. He's in stores all the time. He's dealing with our managers. He's dealing with our team members. He's dealing with our friends. That's what we call our customers now.
Friends?
So, yeah, dude. They're our friends, man.
Let's go.
We recently just revamped that, right?
That's awesome.
That. And so he's just having all of those conversations. Doesn't make a ton of coffee, but then I'm like, where do you want to go? I'm like, do you want to be the CEO? Do you want to be the president of this thing one day? Like, do you even like this job? And so I'm always just having these conversations. But it draws back to your point, man.
Yeah.
Like if you can flip the script from insecurity to security, it's almost game over at that point, right? Because I don't care. I never try to flex. I never try to front. Like I just don't care. I will drive the biggest piece of crap on the planet, and I don't care. And I drive really nice cars, but I don't get any identity from that.
That's
right?
good.
I just don't. I don't care. I drive them because they're efficient and they're electric, and I'm like, I save a ton in gas money.
That's so true.
It's like, man, once you're secure, it just, man, the humility is there. The learnability is there. Like, it's just, man.
What I appreciate about what you're saying too is it's the fact that we are so unique.
Yeah.
And you're looking at everybody who's unique. And they have a common theme. They're here as your employees of Yellowhammer Coffee.
Yeah.
But you're embracing their uniqueness.
Yes.
That's the secret right there.
Yeah.
Leaders who are listening, the greatest things that we can do.
It's out of security.
Yeah.
And you nailed it, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
it. Yeah.
we could sit here for the next hour and just talk about that.
Break it down.
Let's talk
Break
about
that
that because
down more.
here's like, if I'm listening to this and I'm hearing, I'm like, great, all right, security, wonderful. How do I get there? Where does that come from? Where is that rooted? Because that's not something that is in anybody's natural state of humanity. So where do you find your source of security, bro?
I literally asked myself that question. Like, once you stop caring, it's so freeing, man. Like if you see me in Mobile, sometimes you'll see me in a gas station and I'll look homeless. I mean, you'll be like, I need to buy this guy gas. Like this guy's
That's a good business strategy.
This guy's having a rough time. I'm like, hey man, fill my tank up for me. But like, I don't know. Like I've asked myself that question. Like I really don't know, but like it doesn't matter to me. Like that's why I don't post a lot. We flew up here in one of our planes. We had partners in this thing. We could sell it tomorrow and I could never be, it doesn't matter. Like it literally doesn't matter. And so, I've asked myself that. I really don't know. I'm just I think I'm satisfied in who I am.
Yeah.
But I always want to get better. And that's the humility side coming in. And I don't know, dude.
Well, here's what I'm hearing so far. If you're listening to this, maybe you're younger, I hope you're not missing these points. He had clear vision. He's willing to learn. He's transparent, very secure, humbling himself. And in a way, what I'm hearing is the fact that it's like, I want to know like what makes other people tick. And I want to get behind that and position them in a place to where they're flourishing. This thing's not about me. Yep. It's about other people. Going back to what you said from the beginning. Yep. Yes, we get to do coffee and we love coffee, but really we want to create environments for people to feel loved, to feel valued, to feel honored, and don't always get it right, but we're going to work very hard at that. We're willing to be married to the vision, but be willing to learn and grow and not be the only person that has a voice, and want to be, change the process as much as we need to change the process until it fits the vision and moves the ball down the field. Trying to hire people that are better than you. You have this security sense of you. Obviously, you've mentioned books that you've read, which I think is really important for people to understand, because you didn't have a process to model.
Sure.
I mean, in the Northwest, you got Dutch Bros, you got
all
this Seven
guys.
Brew who's starting to come down this way too, which is kind of in a sense of what you're doing.
It's in our territory.
But you didn't have a lot of people you could look to. So you're a learner. You're reading things and you're learning. People are mentoring you through the books that you're reading, because you're not you don't become this overnight. You don't become this naturally. So if you're listening and you're gathering all this, take note of the type of leader that it takes to be able to create something, implement something, not make it about you, and watch it grow and flourish as you help pour into other people to see them flourish.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, and you're maintaining your values.
Yeah.
Even the first 2 years where you're kind of you're launching this, trying to figure everything out literally day by day.
15 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week in the first couple of years.
But the value, even though you are getting tired, you are working it, but you had a value that stuck with you the whole time. That it's like, when this continues to build, it's based on this. When we bring in our first employee, and me and Mo aren't doing all this, I mean, it's going to carry this value. So you have retained a value. With your company, and now, my goodness, I didn't know you're closing in on 100 employees. That's wild.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, I mean, I know we mentioned the trailer, the truck part, and having that moment of what are we doing, but you've had something to keep driving you to move you forward. So what do you look at on the days that you want to quit and you're like, I just would sell all this and just do something else?
Bro.
I mean, like, I'm sure you've had those moments
all the time.
Dude,
I probably have that once a week.
What keeps you in it? That's what keeps you in it.
Get some rest. Get some sleep. Get up and reevaluate.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, really don't make decisions when you're tired. Don't make decisions when you're overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Don't make decisions when you're a little confused. Right. So just, take a time out. Get some sleep, and then reevaluate it. And when I do that, I'm like, all right, let's keep going. But the discouragement is always there, right? Like, I mean, I had a very rough phone call yesterday. Like, literally, I had to deal with a nightmare yesterday. And I mean, even stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I need to be doing something else. Like, this is not fun anymore, And so, but that's a tired moment. That's a whatever. So today I feel great. You know, it's like, man, get some rest, get some sleep, get out of Mobile. Let's go to Birmingham. And I still have to deal with those situations. I still have to come back and figure something out. But it's like, I didn't feel the same way today as I felt yesterday, right? Yesterday, I was kind of like, oh, let's just hang it up and do something else, And so there's got to be something deeper inside of you that's saying, no, like we can still do this. We can still push. We can still, and it's been exhausting. This has been the most tiring year, I think, of the business. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been so many changes, so many projects that are just insanely intense. It's been a lot. It's weird. It's like year number 8 has been the most changes in the company we've ever had, And so,
with all that happening, you're a husband. Yeah. You're also a father. How many kids do you have now?
4 kids.
4 kids now. 4. So
my 3-year-old wanted to fly up here with me.
I bet you let us go.
You can't, if you're taking the airplane, I'm going,
I say this kiddingly. I know we've got this relationship, but do they, I know they have a dad, but most business owners and CEOs have a hard time being able to balance leading a company, being a husband, having a healthy marriage, and having healthy kids. And I know that's important to you. So how do you balance that, if you even do?
So it's hard to balance. And I don't think I'm doing a great job now. So we'll go to the beach. We'll take our camper over to Panama City or something. I'm on the phone a lot. And so it's funny you're asking this, and I'm glad you are, because if you're listening it's something I think we all deal with and wrestle with, right? So I don't think I'm doing it great right now. So I'm in the process of kind of reevaluating how much time I'm spending on the phone. I mean, when I showed up here, when we landed, I had 100 texts, and one of them was really important. So I had to take a moment just to respond to that because it had to be done. And so, I'm trying to get better about just putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, really spending quality time with my kids. We've been playing ultimate frisbee in the front yard.
Let's go.
So we started doing that, started our little family league,
Yeah.
And so
awesome.
we're trying to do that. So obviously I'm not on my phone then, but man, if I'm on the couch, I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
Like if I'm at the dinner table, I put my phone down, but like it's quick. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing great there. So I really need to make some adjustments there. Marriage is tough, man. So when you're married to your business partner, that gets very dicey. Very dicey because you're mad at each other over some decision that got made that should have been communicated. I mean, Mo and I have had more fights than God. I mean, it'd be so much easier if we just worked a regular job, And so, but then you go to bed with this person and you're like, well, I'm still married, but we're business partners, but this is weird. And we're navigating that, right? So what's really cool is I met this guy a couple weeks ago in Mobile who is amazing. He does like the cold bath things. You guys seen those?
Oh yeah.
He does that crap.
Yeah.
He does breathing techniques, which are wild. He did this breathing technique. My face went numb. He was like, it's great, man. This is great. But he's also a licensed counselor.
Okay.
So it's awesome because next Wednesday, I think, Mo and I are going to see him for marriage counseling. And I just think it's not like we're, you know what I mean? It's not like, we're about to we're on on the brink.
Let me just say this with counseling. I wish I would have started counseling back when I was 14, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I wish marriage counseling would have been a part of not just what we're doing premarital, but like all the way through our marriage because it's just like getting that oil change. So I used to look at it as one of those things that, oh my God, you've got to be on the brinks of divorce to go to but no, man, it's like it's investing into your relationships, and my relationship is important and it's the most, and this is just staying healthy, right? It's not because we have a lot of issues. I mean, we do if we're honest, but we're just working through things. So when I hear you say that, I don't think of it like
no, because you can be proactive what you're doing. You can be reactive or you be radioactive. And a lot of people wait for radioactivity to happen. You're jumping on the front end of this, probably between proactive and reactive to the business, and that's awesome. So next week
I can't
marriage
wait.
counseling, jump right in.
I'm so excited. Like I can't even tell you, and I booked it. So a lot of times, the woman is like, hey man, like it's really going bad. And the husband's like, oh, I'm not going in this crap, And so I'm the one that initiated, booked it. I'm like, this will be amazing because I know we can always be better. You know what I mean? I mean, Mo and I got in a tiff yesterday, right? It was just a little like she was mad because she felt like I was distracted, which I was, but I had so much on my plate. Yeah. So she called me a little upset, and I was like, let me tell you what I've been dealing with. And she was like, oh, I had no idea. I'm like, so back off a little bit. You know what I mean? So we got that weirdness, and that's never fun,
Yeah.
But it's like, I know there's better ways that we can have conflict. And so, and just maintenance on the marriage, and just really staying strong. And I like what this guy said. So this guy's name is Scott. And he said, Jeff, he said, most people need counseling really in this time, right? Because you're in your midlife, you have young kids, you have the most stress you'll ever do in your life, and you have older parents that you're trying to navigate that and figure that out with. And I'm like, he goes, dude, I wish everyone came to counseling, because he goes, especially in this season, like early season's kind of easy. The later years, if you do things right, kind of chill. This is the most stressful. And he was like, man, you need a coach coming through some of this stuff. And I was like, well, sign me up.
That's wonderful.
We're excited.
Well, I know how stressful it was to lead a church, even with what we were doing, and feeling like I was getting hounded on all fronts and having to work, 7 days a week, if you will, and not get a day off, and even not even know how to rest. If given a day off, I don't even know how to rest in a day off.
Correct.
Like, and it was like, what do you enjoy for fun, Rhett? I'm like, I don't know. I guess church stuff. I mean, I don't know, and it led to a season of burnout for me, to where it was just like, I mean, we mentioned that in past episodes, and I can only imagine, we had nearly close to 400 people in our church at that season, where I just crashed and burned, and counseling was a huge portion of getting me healthy again and getting me back to a place.
Was this the church you launched?
Yeah, the church we launched.
So you kind of went through burnout in that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I listened to your story, and even with, I had 100 texts, and I know you're not making that up, because I saw you and I saw your text just blowing up. Yeah. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't miss those days, but I Like, it's just amazing to me. Like, you're obviously making good choices to try to put yourself in a position for the long haul and not just this little bump, but like the marathon. I'm not running a sprint. You know, I want to see this thing go and continue to grow on, you know, grow on, if you will. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
You guys are too much in the church world, man.
Yeah,
come
man,
on, dude.
I'm
3
not
R's and they go on, grow on.
All I'm trying to say, hey, no, man, you know, come on, it's the creative,
dude.
You and me, we're the creatives. So we're all three creatives
guys,
around this table.
Put me in the go track. Put me in next steps. Whatever.
You're always welcome, Jeff.
What do you call
Dude,
it? Refuge. What do you call your thing?
Infuse.
Put me in infuse, dude. I'm signing up
You
right
are
now.
always welcome,
Yeah.
Jeff.
You guys can't
Standing
see this.
invitation.
You guys can't see it because you're listening, but I'm signing my infuse form right now. So I
Good.
signed up for that. I'm
It's
on next
leadership
steps.
training.
I'm in
That's
go
right.
track.
Training.
I just signed up all.
You're,
So
you're in, man.
I guess I'm moving to Birmingham. So
I would
here we
love,
go.
and then we'll get Yellowhammer here.
Done.
It's going to be great.
But you know, I know you kid around with all that, but at the same time, what I'm hearing you say, as far as just the development of your company, it's amazing how you've implemented type leadership.
Sure. It
stuff
really is, man. No,
True.
it's good stuff.
We were watching I thought it was interesting. We were watching one of your videos, and you got this thing like a culture card.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about a culture card.
Yeah.
Some people are like, "What is a culture card?"
This was our first attempt, right? So we were like, let's have good culture, and I'm doing air quotes. I know you can't see, so air quotes. Let's have good culture, right? What does that mean? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Just good vibes. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know, man. Just go fly high, hammer down. Like, I don't know, do something, right? So that was our first attempt to putting like language around how we operate, how we work, how we think, like what we do. So we printed 56 cards in like a card deck. And so that was kind of our like, and we printed a couple hundred boxes and we just handed them out to our team members. We're like, read that. And so the cool thing is it gives us something to go by, right? If someone is not living by a culture card, anybody on the like a barista could come up to me and be like, hey man, culture card number 37. Like, I just didn't feel like you were. And I'm like, bro, you're right. Like, I mean, I get called out. Like, what I tell my team is I have an unlimited amount of apologies, like unlimited. Like I say, I'm sorry a ton, right? So someone's like, hey, I just didn't feel like, dude, I'm really sorry, man. Like I can definitely get better at that. You know? And so it put language in like something in like substance around what we actually meant when we say healthy culture, you know? And so that was our first attempt. This year, we've actually rolled out some deeper stuff that I'm really, so we've transitioned. We did an 8-month, Sam actually led this. So I didn't even initiate this. So my regional manager said, hey, I want to do something. I want to change the way we're interacting with our customers. I was like, all right, okay, that sounds awesome. He goes, I want to systemize. He used this term. He said, I want to systemize.
On the next episode of Armchair Authentic, part 2 of our conversation with Jeff Roberts, co-founder of Yellowhammer Coffee.
You don't have to reinvent. You look at the best. Walt Disney. Disney says we hire friendly people and we make them Disney people. So at Yellowhammer, we hire friendly people and we make them Yellowhammer people.
It's good.
It's so simple. It's really not rocket science.
I'm pushing back a little bit.
Yeah.
People can put on and
people
pretend
can.
to be friendly.
Oh, bro.
Yeah. How do you see through it? Is there a way to push those buttons?
Yeah. Well, you can't see through it in an interview.
Okay.
We've had phenomenal interviews. And then they get hired and our managers go, oh my gosh, like they did not, this is not what I saw. It's very easy.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. So as they're running through the now very structured training program, they're just like, hey, like we're not cutting it. And a lot of customer interaction, friend interaction, team interaction, all that stuff, that's built in there. So it's very easy to be like, dude, you're just not hitting the level.
We're really looking forward to that next episode of Armchair Authentic. But in the meantime, go and treat your taste buds to a cup of Yellowhammer Coffee. You can order a subscription at yellowhammercoffee.com and they'll ship it straight to you. And as usual, you can reach out to us if you have any questions or comments at info@armchairauthentic.com. Until next time, have a great week.